Hey guys, welcome to the Something About Tuesdays podcast. I'm your host, Phebe Joi. Join me every other Tuesday for a lighthearted podcast to keep you company while you do your thing. Hey guys, welcome back to Something About Tuesdays, episode 74. I'm your host, Phebe Joi, and hi. Hey and welcome. Hey everyone, Happy New Year. Whoop, whoop. I know we're one weekend, a little over a week into the new year, almost 2 weeks, I think. I'm not entirely sure. It has been a whirlwind. If you hear some sounds in the background, that is, of course, my precious baby Phoenix. I am recording this on a Sunday night. This is, I guess, a week and a day after she was born. This is me just being like, I want to record something to release on a Tuesday, but I'm so tired when I'm going to record. I meant to do it yesterday on a Saturday. That didn't work. You will see how today goes. You guys, I have notes, but they're so scattered. I haven't like rearranged them in any way. Literally, I was like, okay, I've got a few minutes. She's kind of asleep. She might wake up here any minute. Let me just see how far I can get, and if I need to record at a couple different times and push things together. I can do that maybe when I have time to edit or something, at like 3 or 4 in the morning when I'm up anyway. But anyway, hi everyone. Phew. I want to say I hope you have had an amazing last couple of weeks. I hope the beginning of 2026 has been great to you, as it most definitely has been for me. But I know that there are some people in my life all around me that have already, you guys, barely in 2026, have suffered loss and heartache and sadness. And I just want to say, I want to say, don't believe that's going to be the tone for your year. I don't believe that. I'm not trying to say that this year will not have moments like you've experienced. But I do want to say this. So I had this on my notes to say, even before I had Phoenix, about the upcoming year. And it, every year people have words, they have things that they want to say or focus on. And so entering into 2026, I didn't really have a focus. You guys know the last couple episodes I've been talking about how I just wasn't sure exactly, um, you know, how am I going to incorporate more of God's word? Wanted to, read the Bible every day. It hasn't happened. It might, I think I've read maybe a scripture per day. um, but I've been thinking about, ways to just be more engaged with the word. But I've also just been kind of thinking about, what are my goals? And my mind has been scattered. Quite normally, y'all know I like to plan things. I have my list. I have everything set out, my goals. But this year, I really went into 2026 not knowing, not having a focus or anything. But that kind of changed a little bit, literally maybe like the Sunday before, I believe, New Year's, and the night before New Year's. So, and I'm sharing all this because I just want to share this with you just as a thought. This obviously doesn't have to be your focus or anything, or anything that you want to cling to or work on this year, but I hope that maybe it encourages you, if you've had a rough beginning of the year, or even if you've had a very amazing one, like I've had. So one thing that stuck with me was that I guess gave me direction into 2026 was a conversation I had with my pastor's wife. And it literally was a passing conversation. This wasn't something that was, I mean, we didn't have, it was just passing. And she was just, asking me how I was doing, feeling, I was still pregnant at the time and not knowing that in less than a week I'd be having my baby. But she had just said, just something along the lines of, you are going to have just a beautiful year. And that stuck with me. You know how, people can tell you these things all the time or say encouraging words, and then sometimes things just hit you different. Well, beautiful hit me different. And I was like, yeah, that's the kind of year I want to have. I want to have a beautiful year. And so I began to kind of let that be my focus whenever I would pray or, think about what the next year would bring. And like I said, this was just a few days before New Year's itself. And so I was thinking, okay, a beautiful year. I was like, God, I really do want to have a beautiful year. I have my own anxieties about things that are happening. In fact, I had just, I don't know if this last one episode, I can't remember if I had shared with you guys that at the previous appointment that they had told me that my poor precious baby had fetal growth restriction, which means she wasn't growing as she should. That I guess my placenta at some point had or was struggling to give her all the nutrients and oxygen she needed to grow. Y'all, that's a scary thing to hear. Um, it was encouraging that they were like, we think it'll be okay. You've made it far enough along. And the fact that this has come later is much more reassuring. We'll just keep an eye on it, which is always scary to hear. But so I was like, I don't know what this next year's gonna bring. I don't know if we're gonna have a premature baby. I don't know if we're gonna have NICU time. I don't know if I will even have a baby. I believed I would, but I was like, all of this is just kind of it's in your head, right? But I was like, I do believe this can be a beautiful year, even if it looks a little different than expected. So that became my focus. Well, then I was drawn to a scripture, and that was Ecclesiastes 3. My brain, I have it written down, but I don't have my notes in front of me. 3, I'm gonna say 11. If it's not 11, maybe 13. And it was he makes all things beautiful in his time, right? And I was like, that is so true with where we are with this journey, with how long it's been, um with just everything. I do believe he's making my life beautiful in his time. And and so I was like, okay, I want to focus on that through all of this, because y'all know I can't just, you can't just forget the bad times just because you're in good times, right? I mean, trust me, I have my baby girl in my arms literally right now, and I love it. And I'm so grateful. And it's hard to believe I'm here, but I still haven't forgotten where I was. And so I believe that all of that has attributed to the beauty of life. And I kind of really like that word beautiful, because beautiful doesn't actually have to mean like physically, or like it doesn't have to mean attractive, nice, pretty. Beautiful is so much deeper than that. And I think that's the part that's hitting me, because I was thinking about childbirth in and of itself. If you guys think about childbirth in and of itself, no matter how you look at it, it is ugly. Okay. Like, let's be real. Okay. No matter how you look at it, the actual act of childbirth, of a woman giving birth to a child, however she does it, is not a pretty sight. It is blood, sweat, and tears, literally. Okay. And it's pain, and it's things being torn and ripped from your body. Not saying the baby, but you know what I mean? This is a big deal. And so when you think about that, that's not pretty. That's not aesthetically pleasing. But you would be hard to find someone not say that the experience is a beautiful one. It's the of what's happening in this pain, in this sadness, in this sometimes torment. Something beautiful is literally happening. A life is being born and brought into the world. And that's why that's why people do it. That's why people continue to have children, right? Because the outcome is beautiful, because the process itself is beautiful. Not what you see, but the meaning behind it. And so I was like, okay, God, that's kind of one thing I want to focus on. So I started literally on that scripture. I had not Googled, I had searched like in my Bible app for, beautiful scriptures, and that came up, and I was like, oh, this is totally God speaking to me. And then, so I went to the beginning of Ecclesiastes. Well, did I say the verse? Look, you guys, my brain, I'm still recovering. I mean, I have pregnancy brain, but now I have sleep deprived brain, so y'all gonna have to forgive me. Um, but Ecclesiastes 3. And so then, of course, Ecclesiastes 3, it's the time to verses. I think the ones that specifically stuck out to me were verses 1 through 9, I believe, which were just, and not even 1 through 9. Y'all, I need my notes. There were two verses, but it was the time. I think the time to laugh and the time to dance were the ones that I wanted, like a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, all those things. And I was like, I've had weeping, I've had mourning. I was like, this is my time to dance. This is my time to laugh. This is the time to do that. And I was like, God, my prayer for 2026 is help me to recognize the time for things. Like there might be times where I'm going to need to mourn. There might be times where I'm going to need to, what's the word I like? Refrain from embracing with. Oh look, y'all, I can't think of the word. I think it's refrain from embracing. Like, but anyway. But then there are times to, go all in. In Phoebe's words, there's a time to heal. There's a time of war and a time of peace. There's a time of love and a time of hate. And I was like, God, just let me to recognize those times and to know that it is a time, that it is a season, that we will experience that. But ultimately, it will all be beautiful in the end. That the purpose of it behind it is something beautiful, something more, something meaningful. And I was like, God, in those kind of darker times, let me see the beauty of what you're doing. And I know that can be so very, very hard when you're in the middle of it. Just with my story, when I've been in the middle of it, it didn't feel beautiful in the least. Um, and at times it still doesn't quite feel beautiful, right? Because not everything is perfect. But I'm like, God, help me to see that though. I want to see the beauty in life that you've given me, in the life you've given me, and life in general. I have this new life here, and I want to show her that things can be beautiful. Why? Because God, you created things to be beautiful. I know that there's harshness in the world. I know that there's pain and there's suffering and there's sadness. But there's also joy and laughter and hope and goodness and kindness and fun and all kinds of beautiful things. And that's what I want to emphasize. And even in the hard times, if I can just find something in it that gives it a little more beauty, something meaningful that's like, yeah, this is painful, but something might come from this. A baby might be born from this. That's kind of my goal for 2026. And so, in this most scattered way of sharing that with you all, that's kind of my thoughts. That's what I want to give you as hopefully as some type of encouragement if you've had a kind of rough start to the year. Don't let it define your entire year as, man, this is going to be a tough year already. But maybe look for, okay, in this hardship, in this pain, where's the beauty in this situation? Can I find it? Can I find it in memories? Can I find it in what I did have? Can I find it in what I already have, what I still have? Can I find it in the Lord? Can I find it, in my family? Where can I find beauty in exactly where I am right now? Um, and like I said, easier said than done. I'm not trying to push you out of any type of grief or mourning or suffering. Y'all know if you're feeling it, feel it. If I'm gonna be sad, I'm gonna be sad because that's what I'm feeling. Um, and that's how I'll know when I've gotten better, right? If you shove away your emotions, you'll never know where your real ones are and if you've gotten better. So feel the feels, feel the sadness if you're sad. And then that way, when you start feeling happy, you can recognize, oh, I'm feeling a little more at peace than I was yesterday. Oh, that's good. And you can celebrate those little wins. But anyway, that's my word of encouragement. Now, for those of you who maybe have had the most amazing introduction to 2026, yay! Bring on this new year. 2025, I totally love the sound of 2025. I love the sound of odd numbers. So I'm totally there. 2026 doesn't sound good to me. But this was the year my daughter was born, so how can I not love it? You guys, Phoenix is here. Phoenix Joelle is the middle name we decided on literally last minute, like 2 hours before we left the hospital. They're like, you gotta give us this paperwork. I'm like, okay, what are we gonna do? Um, but yeah, so we've got our precious Phoenix. She is here. I want to say she didn't come unexpectedly. Um, just a little quicker than expected. Like I knew that I was, you guys, I think I left us at 36 weeks. Um, and so 37 weeks was coming. 37 weeks was when I was going to be induced. And so at 36 weeks, which is 2 Fridays ago, so on the second, I had an appointment. It went fine. I did my second IVIG treatment, and that went fine. And while I was at the doctor, so I'm about to go into her birth story. Okay, so if you're like, "Where's all this going?" Y'all, I have to give you her birth story. Do I want to jump right in? I think I do. I was like, "Is there anything else I want to kind of introduce before I could just go in?" I don't think so. Okay, all right. So let's just go in. Um, all right, because right. That's what we want to know. We want to know. Okay, what happened? How was this baby brought here? All right. So that Friday, I had my regular OB appointment. They're like, "Hey, this is your kind of, I think, second to last one before we're gonna induce you." They were gonna remove my sarclage at that time, but because I did not have my second IVIG treatment yet, they were like, "Let's postpone it till that following Tuesday." Perfect, fine. That day, I did have my second IVIG treatment. It was already in the schedule. I found out that my platelets had not responded to the previous treatment the week before. So that was a little discouraging, but I was like, okay, maybe they will this time. Let's just do it. When I was at the doctor's office, my blood pressure was high a little bit. It's been high for like the last month. And by high, I mean like 130s, 140s roughly. And they were like, if it hits 150 and above on the top or 110 or above on the bottom, let's get that checked out, right? So it was like 150 something at the doctor's office, and they were like, "This is the HEMA," and they were like, is this?" And I was like, "It's being monitored. It's fine." And they're like, "Okay," the medical assistant lady. So anyway, so I left there feeling okay. While I was there, so my hubs, he stayed with me throughout the whole treatment, which is roughly about 3.5 hours, something like that. And while we were there, this time there was like a few different couples. People were there for all kinds of reasons. You guys, I'm telling you, it does make you count your blessings. While I was there, there wasn't like, "We need an all call of nurses to the front desk." And I was like, "Uh-oh." And they were like, "What?" And so they all go rushing to the front. And apparently, from what I can hear, not what I can see, someone who had, I think, had a seizure. And they were going to call the ambulance, which I was like, "But we're a medical center." But there was, I guess, the hospital technically next door. So they ended up, I guess, the person who had the seizure was like, "No ambulance." She was like, "This happens." And I don't know, the nurses were just kind of talking about it. I was like, "Oh my goodness." All right, you guys. So they that talk about an interesting day at work for them. But anyway, so we were just back there though, still just getting infused, and nothing really changed on our end. But I did think that was interesting. But so I got my treatment. I went home, having a good day. It was fine. I checked my blood pressure. At this point, they've been having me check my blood pressure about twice a day. I am checking it. I decide to look, it's like 161 over something, and I was like, "That's a little high." I was like, "Let me give it a few hours for it to go down." So I give it a few hours and I check it again. It's like 150 something, but still high, maybe like over 112 or whatever. And I go to my hubs. I'm like, "Hubs, my blood pressure is a little high." And you guys, all of a sudden, I look in the mirror and my eye has these two red dots, like where I guess I had two blood vessels just popped in my eye or something. Like, you know how like your eyes get bloodshot sometimes. Yeah, well, there was like two different instances of them in my eye, and I was like, so I Googled, of course, and it can be a thing that has to do with preeclampsia and high blood pressure. And I was like, okay, so I have high readings of blood pressure and I have bloody eye. Maybe I should go in. And I talked to Hubs and he's like, I think he was just tired. It was like 1 in the morning. And so I was like, okay, I'll give it the night. Um, so I go to bed. I know you guys are like, "Why didn't you go in then?" Yeah. So I go to bed. I wake up the next morning, and the first thing I do within like 10 minutes is I check my blood pressure, and it's still in the 150s and with like 107 or something. So I was like, okay, well, and my eye, oh, by the way, got worse over the night. Like it is now like half my eye is red, like just bloody red. And I was like, okay. So I go and I talk to my husband because he'd already been up, and I said, hey, Hubs, I said, I think we're gonna want to go get myself checked out, go get the baby checked out, make sure that she's not in distress, make sure there's nothing that we need to do, but just to get checked out. And I was like, I'm sure this will only be a couple hours. I've been monitored before. I just want them to monitor to make sure her heart's doing fine, she's not in distress, and that we're good to go. And so he was like, okay. So we got ready, got dressed kind of casually. I did kind of think like, okay, if I don't leave the hospital today, what do I need? So I did bring like a backpack kind of with my things, and off we went. And so we get to the hospital about 1 o'clock. This is Saturday now on the 3rd. And I go in to the labor and delivery, and I'm like, hi. And I just explained my blood pressure's been high, my eye is bloody, my kid might be in distress. I just wanted to come get checked out. And they were like, no problem. I mean, it was so easy. She took me back to a room. They started hooking me up. They were checking my blood pressure. It was running high. And they were like, okay. They're like, let's get some lab work done, and we'll see what we need to do. While that was happening, the doctor came in, doctor on call, and she's like, I reviewed your chart. You seem like a very high risk person. I see in your chart, they're like, we have a very low threshold for delivery for you. So more than likely, Miss McGay, we're going to have this baby today. She was like, um, we can see what route we want to do. We're going to check your platelets. We're going to check your lab work. We're going to check, your blood pressure. And if things are looking how we think they're looking, then let's plan to deliver today. So lab work and everything came back, and I guess my platelets were at 98, which I think for most anesthesiologists to feel comfortable, to give an epidural, they should be about 100. And I was like, oh, 98's good. And even the OB was like, 98's great. The anesthesiologist should be fine with it. So she's like, we're going to ask them to go ahead and come in, give you your epidural. We're going to take out your cerclage and we're going to deliver this baby. We're going to see what happens. And then if need to induce you, we'll do that. And then she was like, okay, great. So she left. I was sitting there. I was like, okay, we're going to have this baby. She comes back and she's like, all right, the anesthesiologist said no, that he was not comfortable giving you an epidural, that he was concerned that your platelets are only up temporarily, which I mean, you guys, it did just go up in one day, but still. Um, and that he was not comfortable doing an epidural needle, that be okay doing a spinal, and would be okay doing that for a C-section, but not an epidural. And so she said, so your options are C-section or natural. And I was like, well, talk to me a little more, even though I already was like, I do not feel like going natural. And then she also said we could wait like a day maybe to see if my platelets continue to go up. And so she explained it like this. She was like, I obviously, whatever you want to do is what we'll do. She says a C-section, one that's already scheduled, is little less chaotic than if we needed one later. She said, because your baby is already small and may not endure labor well, um, then we might end up having to have a C-section anyway, even if we did forego the epidural and you tried to labor, and have a kid naturally, then we still might end up having a C-section, because of that and because of your blood pressure. And she was like, so it's kind of, we can do a C-section now, which is planned and we're ready for. You can try to go naturally, and it may work out, but we may not, we may still have to do the C-section, or we could even wait for tomorrow, see what your platelets look like, see if maybe we get a different anesthesiologist who's willing to do the epidural, and perhaps wait for tomorrow and do that. And you guys, she was like, I'll make your decision, think about it. So she left the room. I said, okay, let's talk about it. And I was like, well, what do you guys think? And my husband's like, hey, go natural. And I was like, oh no, no, nine, no. I was like, I'm not going natural just to go natural. But we did discuss that we felt like maybe the C-section would be the best, as far as it is planned. We don't want an emergency one later. Honestly, I was like, whatever is the safest for my baby. I don't care what I do care what happens to my body. I do care how she's born. I wanted to go with an epidural naturally, but I at the same time I just want her safe. And if there's any chance that she will be in distress while I'm in distress, you guys, because if I went natural with no prep, are you kidding me? Like I'd be distressed, she'd be distressed, we'd all be in distress. So I was like, I don't even want to chance it. If this is what's best for her, if we're worried about my blood pressure, if this is more controlled and safe, I am definitely willing to do this. And so it didn't take long. We were like, okay, come back. And we're like, yeah, let's go ahead and do the C-section. You guys, that decision was made at like, I don't know, 3:30 maybe. I don't know. By like 4, I was already hooked up, y'all. I had to, oh, you're my baby. They had me hooked up to magnesium for my blood pressure. And I tell you what, by like 4 o'clock, I was already like getting wheeled into the operating room. It happened so fast. Y'all, I was just admitted at 1, okay? 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I'm in the operating room. I'm getting my spinal, which that was an interesting thing. There's the lidocaine needle, which went in, and she's like, it's gonna feel like a bee sting for like 10 seconds. I felt it. It was like a little sting, and it was probably a little less than 10 seconds, maybe like 6 seconds. But I could feel it, but it wasn't bad at all. And then she was like, okay, I'm gonna do the spinal. Let me know if it's in the middle. I'm like, well, you just nut my back. I can't let you know anything. But anyway, so she did the spinal, and really the weird, like, she was like, okay, now lay back kind of quickly because you're gonna go numb. So I laid back and I could feel the numb come in. It was so weird. Like, and I kept flexing my toes. Like, that was the only way I could tell if I was numb or not. And eventually, like, my right foot, I couldn't flex my toes anymore, but my left foot I could. And I was like, I told her, I was like, I could still flex. She's like, yeah, you'll numb up though. And so I was like, okay. And after a while, yeah, it was numb and it was weird. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't feel my body, but I like can feel my body because you're numb, but you can still kind of feel sensations. And they did this little pinch test. And the pinch test was the worst. Like she pinched like my arm or something, and then pinched like my stomach to see if I could feel the difference. And I was like, yes, that arm pinch hurts. You don't gotta pinch that hard. um, but yeah, but that did make me feel a little better. At first, I felt my stomach pinch, and I was like, "Yeah, I feel that." And she was like, "Oh, okay, hold on." And then she pinched again, and then I was like, "Nah, I didn't feel the next one, not near as much." And so she's like, "Okay, great." Um, and so then they brought the husband in, and he came and sat next to me. And all I know, I'm just sitting there, and I guess they're just cutting, tugging, doing their thing. I can feel stuff, but I'm just like, okay. And then like they're like, okay, we're about to bring the baby out. I was like, oh, okay, here we are. And they bring her out. It was so fast, you guys. And my husband's like, that was quick. And I was like, oh my goodness. I'm like half like in and out of it anyway. I was so tired. Once they brought her out and I saw her, I don't know if it was just like relief that that's my baby and she seems okay and or what, but like immediately I was so tired. I struggled so much to keep my eyes open. I'm like laying there on that operating table and just I could have slept. Like I was like, my baby, she's fine. All's good in the world. And I was like out of it. And probably a little bit to do with the medicine. But anywho, so they did that. They closed me up and y'all, I don't even remember honestly how I even got back to the room. Like I can't even think of it now. I'm sure they wheeled me around. I don't, did they knock me out for that? I have no idea. I need to ask my husband like what happened in between the operating room and coming back because I have no idea. But I don't remember waking up. Y'all, I don't know. Anyway, so next thing I know, I'm back in my room and Hebs is there and they bring Phoenix in, and there's no guests for the first, I think, 2 hours or something like that. And so it was just me and Hubs, and then mom and dad. They were there, so they just waited and then came in. But that is that's my basic story of my Phoenix entering into the world. She was a doll baby. She's a stunning little thing. I absolutely adore her. I love her little face. I love her little nose, her little mouth, her eyes, her ears, her hair, like her lack of eyebrows. I love it all. Her little hands, her little feet, her little knees that aren't really knees yet because those come later, her skinny little legs, you guys. It's just all of it, all of it, all of it. I love so much. And like one of my favorite things to do is just look at her. I just like looking at her. I'm like, this precious little thing. I adore her so much. She is pleasant too, you guys. She doesn't cry that much. She cries if there's a reason, like when they were pricking her poor little foot and they were trying to get blood out, and I was like, oh no. And they were pricking her poor little foot and she cried, but as soon as it was over, she was done. And like when we change her diaper, she cries sometimes, but as soon as it's over, she's done crying. Like if she cries, there's a reason, which I definitely appreciate, at least at this stage. Guys, we're 8 days in. I don't know how that will continue to develop, but that's where we are, at least 8 days in. And I definitely appreciate that if she's crying, she has a reason. But I newbornness. So we stayed at the hospital. We had entered Saturday. We ended up staying until Tuesday afternoon, I believe. Let me say, so the things that I was expecting and not expecting. I was not expecting. Okay, so I had the C-section. You guys, I was not expecting the pain that would come with a C-section. I think it was because I was only on like Tylenol or something, and Tylenol does nothing for me when it comes to pain. And I was like, this is the worst. Like my stomach hurts so bad. I literally can do nothing. It hurts so bad. But then they got me some regular ibuprofen. And I was like, okay, thank you. Because ibuprofen actually does work for me when it comes to pain. So after switching that up, that's been so much better. Those first few days were the pits. I will say that. When I first stood up, oh my gosh, I was like, what is this? And pain. And it was just terrible. And so I stood up and that was rough. And I almost passed out. The second time I stood up, once again, what is this pain? I mean, I was crying. I cried. And then but then after that, it did get a little better. Standing up didn't make me cry. It makes me wince a lot. It makes me occasionally there are twinges that I get, like if I'm laying down and I turn a certain way or if I move a certain way, and it's just very sharp pain goes through me and tears will come to my eyes. But I haven't cried. I think I cried once in bed because I was laying on like my back or my side and like nothing was comfortable. Anyway, but aside from that, it is slowly getting better. Slowly, emphasis on the word slowly. Shout out to any of my C-section mamas out there. C-sections are no joke. I just, it's amazing. It is this major abdominal surgery. That's what they call it. That like it's one that everybody just, and I don't know, there's this expectation, I feel like, and maybe it's just like one that I give myself, but there's almost this expectation that we will just that it, like because we have a newborn from it, that we're just going to jump right into that motherhood, newborn, taking care of that baby, forgetting that we have got to take care of ourselves. So thank God for mom, for husband. He did a great job taking care of Phoenix. um a lot, those first few days, and my mom helping me out and helping both of us out. And we've kind of got a little system going, but obviously we need to make some tweaks. Some things are working, some things are like, I don't know how long we can maintain. Um, but, alas, we'll have to see. But anyway, so I didn't anticipate how much I would love just looking at her. You guys, I could just spend so much time looking at her. I love just looking at her breathing. I did not realize how nervous I would be for her health. Like I'm like every little thing, you guys. I'm a pretty chill person, but I'm like, is that okay? She has a spot here. Is this okay? She's breathing weird. Is that okay? She's snoring. Are babies supposed to snore? Like, what is this? Why does she have the hiccups all the time? She can't breathe? She's spitting up way too much. Is this a bad thing? What is going on? Why is it every time I lay my baby down, she wants to spit up? What is this? I don't want to put her down at all. And yeah, you guys, I have Googled so much in the last week. It's been ridiculous. We did have our first pediatrician appointment and that went well, but y'all, in which that was kind of cute. Like, going to the doctor with your fresh new baby is just like, oh. And so I enjoyed that. But really like just like all the questions, all the things, and I want to do all things right. And y'all know my personality. Like I like routines. I like planning things. I like getting things done. Um and this is definitely a new stage for me, but my brain's already like, all right, maybe we can try this. I want to do that. I'm going to make sure I do this. And I have to give myself grace too, because a lot of stuff I physically, it's hard to do. And I have to calm myself down there and be like, it's okay. Like part of this, I guess maybe high blood pressure stuff that's going on is I have carpal tunnel. And so sometimes it makes it really hard for me to hold my precious baby. And it just saddens me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I want to be able to hold her as much as I want to hold her. And sometimes I'm like, my hands, not my arms, like need the break. Or like if I'm standing and I want to stand and rock with her, but my stomach, I can only stand for so long before I just start feeling this pain. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. So that part is frustrating. Um, but but that's just, I mean, that'll get better in time, right? Um, like just being around her, I love it. Y'all are gonna be like, we're so tired of hearing it. But no, she's really great. I like looking at her. You guys, she smells so good. And you can smell her. People have said the newborn baby smell. You guys, it's a real thing. She just smells so good. Wow, I on the flip hand. Okay, what is going on with me? Okay, for all you moms out there, postpartum, what kind of funkiness? Like, I am just, whew, like, I'm just sweating like crazy. I guess all the water and the water weight, which that has helped me come down. I still get swollen. My legs and feet are still getting swollen, but it has come down some. But let me tell you, I am the opposite of what my beautiful baby smells like. Okay, whatever that's all about. So, anywho. But she smells so good and she's so soft and just love it, love it, love it, love it. So that's that's where we are with Phoenix being born. This first week has been good. It's been. I'm curious how the next week's gonna go. I'm hoping it just each week gets better and better. I don't know. um, I can tell going back to work is gonna be like, oh my goodness, like who wants to do this when you have a precious baby? But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But the last thing I want to say about having my precious Phoenix is one thought that I had while I was holding her is I was like, Lord, I'm so grateful that you've given her me, given her to me. That of course. But also that I was like, when I look at her and there's so much love and there's so much that I want to shield her from and protect her from, and so much I want to give to her. And some things I don't, because I don't want to. Yeah, I know you can't spoil a newborn, but sometimes you're just like, oh my goodness, we've been through 5 diapers in literally 2 minutes. But I was like, God, you blessed me with the perspective of a parent. My whole life, I've been able to. Luckily I've had a great parents of my own, so I've been able to really see how God can be a fantastic father, right? Um, through the lens of his child, through the lens of being his daughter. But now I'm being able to see the love that he has in a different perspective as now I'm a parent. And I'm like, wow, this love I have for my child, that's the love God has for me. And I understood it before, because it can be understood, right? But to experience it is a different thing. And I am excited about how God will use motherhood to show me more of himself, and who he is. I'd like to see the beauty of that this year. So I am excited about that, and I'm very thankful to God for that. But yeah, so that catches us up right to where we are right now. I did have things I was going to share in my last episode, which is so funny because I think I referenced in my last episode, I talked about my IVIG or some appointment, and I don't know if I did because even though I had my notes for the last episode, I never did record it. So I'm not entirely sure exactly where we left off. I think we left off Christmas had already happened, and we were going into New Year's. And I might add, if I come back to recording, I might add some of those thoughts here at the end. But if not, this is a shorter episode, but I hope you don't mind. It's really just introducing this new year. It's going to be a beautiful one, you guys, for everyone. It's going to be a beautiful one. And I'm so excited about it. Thank you guys for listening and for tuning in. I do plan to keep recording. I was like, maybe I should say, like, hey, I'm going to go on maternity leave. I do plan to keep recording here consistently on Tuesdays. I have things coming out on Tuesdays. The episodes might be shorter. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to see. But my little girl, she's starting to wake up just a little bit. Um, it's kind of fun. I might come back and record some more, or we might end it here. We'll see what happens. But anyway, if this is the end, thank you guys so much for listening. Happy New Year. Happy 2026. And let at least this moment today find you a time for laughter, a time to dance, and find one beautiful thing in your day today. And yeah, so thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch y'all in a couple weeks.